सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Let's chant verses number 1, 5 and then 16, 15, 16 and 17. Rupam drishyam lochanam drik tadrishyam driktumanasam drishyadhivrittaya sakshi drigeva natu drishyate nodeti nastametyesha na vriddhim yati nakshayam swayam vibhati ata anyani bhasayet sadhanam vina. Number 15. Antardrik drishayor bhedam bahishcha brahma sargayoho avranottyapara shaktihi sa samsarasya karanam sakshinah purato bhatam lingam dehena samyutam chitichchaya samaveshat jivasyat vyavaharikaha. Number 17, we'll do that twice. Asya jivatvamaropat sakshini sakshinyavabhasate avritau tu vinishtayam bhede bhate payati tat. Asya jivatma aropat sakshinyavabhasate avritau tu vinishtayam bhede bhate payati tat. I was just reading these and I apologize to a couple of you that you had asked me to send out the words pratibhasika, vyavaharika and paramarthika, and I didn't do that, so my apologies. I will do that later on. I've been busy with some of the other stuff, so anyway, that's my apologies. So this Drg Drsya Viveka text that we are studying, I feel is a very good foundational introduction to what Vedanta is saying. Really summarizes the basics of our life, really speaking. What is going on, what is my life all about, what is my nature, how do I make sure that I reach a sense of complete freedom and ananda, of joy. All of that it presents in a very, very systematic way, I feel. I think it's one of the best tests there are. And then later on, it will have a very good summary of the text in the form of meditations. And so we will actually not only study the meditation in the later parts of this text, but also do the meditation much more regularly. We have done only one so far, and I think I should do another one very shortly, but the bulk of the meditations we will do later on in the form of a summary. So what we did last week was verse number 16, right? And which said, Sakshinaha purato bhatam lingam dehena samyutam chititchaya samaveshat jivaha syat vyavaharikaha. So this section that we are studying, verse number 16, is part of just one second. So this is a section which has been very well pointed out by Swami Viditatmananda. There's the nature of creation, the very basics of creation, which was started in number 13 and continued on with number 14. So the essence of that is the following. If you look at our own nature as a human being, well, I call it a person many times, but there is some distinction to be made between a person and a personality. And so an interesting thing to view this is the following. I feel that I am a person. This is what I think. I think I'm a person, and then all my manifestations as I am is my personality. This is how I look at myself, isn't it? Because I feel that I am someone, and that someone has some expressions. So for instance, I have a form in the form of a body, and I have a form in sense of how I express myself in my talks, how my thoughts express themselves in my behavior, whether I'm an angry person, dissatisfied, and intolerant, then that is an expression of my mind. Or if I am tolerant, if I am happy, then that also is an expression of my mind. So anyway, I take all of them as my personality. So I take myself as some kind of a person. And then I have a personality around it. So Vedanta says, I'm just restating what is being stated here, just in some other words, in different words. So Vedanta says, listen, okay, that is a reasonable way to make a distinction between a person and a personality. In other words, this is reasonable for you to think this way, that I'm a person and I have a personality. Now the question is, who is the person? So the personality is pretty clear. As we discussed it, it is all how I express myself and what people think of me, what I think of myself. That is clear, that is my personality. This is the way I am, as people say, take it or leave it. This is the way I am. Now the question is, who is it that I am? This is what needs a little bit more inquiry. And what we find is that, really speaking, my personality and myself are mixed up. So what that means is that whoever I am is what my personality is. So I don't have a very clear distinction between the person and the personality. It's all one and the same thing. And therein lies a problem. There lies a issue that I need to look into more in terms of inquiry. So the whole Vedantic teaching is about self-inquiry. This is what is called Atma Vichara in Sanskritam, or Brahma Vichara. Well, Atma Vichara means that I need to really have a very clear idea of what is going on. I need to take a stock of who I am, what are my capabilities, where am I going? And we make mistakes in doing that. And so the inquiry has to be, and the inquiry cannot be done without the expert guidance of the scriptures. The inquiry has to be done individually by human beings. Each one of us has to do an inquiry. But the inquiry has to follow the guidelines presented by the Shastra. Why does it have to be presented by the Shastra? Because if we do an inquiry either based on my own capability or based on faulty guidelines by others, then it leads to really disappointment. But if there is a proven wisdom which has been around forever and which has never been challenged, and even if it is challenged, it stands the challenge very well, then that's the wisdom that I need to follow. So in that wisdom it says that you please make a very clear idea as to what is the person and what is a personality. And so there it says that what you consider to be a person, and in fact you are right, the person and the personality seem to be both mixed up. So what you consider to be a person is really a personality. This is important for us to see. What you consider to be a person. You person means that let's see what you consider to be a person. So if we start in, supposing we do an interview and we ask each one of us to please stand up and describe ourselves. Who am I? What are we going to say? Well, my name is Vijay Kapoor. Okay. Are you sure? Yeah, that's who I am. Well, right away we find that is not true. Why is it not true? Because your parents, Mr. Kapoor, did not name you for 4 days after you were born. I'm just hypothetically saying, oftentimes the mother and the father, they have a kind of a disagreement. So the father says, I want this name, and the mother says, I want this name. And then no one seems to decide. This happened to me. It's very interesting. My granddaughter, my older granddaughter, her name is Arya. A-R-I-A. Sometimes this name is A-R-Y-A, which is an Indian name, but this is more of an Italian name, and it means the notes of a music, aria. And so my son and my daughter-in-law, they decided to name her Arya. It so happens that my cardiologist at the Palo Alto Medical Clinic's name is also Arya. And I've known my cardiologist longer than I know, of course, my granddaughter is almost going to be 15. So after my granddaughter was named Arya, I went to my cardiologist and I said, "How were you named Arya?" This is what reminded me of this story. She says, "So funny that you ask." So I don't know whether she was born in the US, but her parents were from Italy. So she says that my mom and my father had a disagreement about what to name me. And for a long time, I don't know exactly how many days, and they could not agree. So they went to one of the grandmothers, I forget if it was a father's mother or mother's mother, and said, "You decide." And she was very fond of the opera. And she said, "I want your daughter to be named Arya." So anyway, for what happens, so if I say my name is, if I describe my person and say, "Okay, you describe yourself," and I say I am Vijay Kapoor, you know what that means? For 4 days I was not Vijay Kapoor. Then who were you? Because you can, in fact, even if you're named the very first time you're born, when you were a fetus in the mother's womb, you were not named. Who were you? So name was something given to you later, but you were already existing prior to it. So the name cannot be an accurate description of who you are. Okay, fine, I get it. So forget about that. Don't bug me. Now, I can say, I am Indian. That itself has a lot of questions about, is it born in India? Is there some DNA which says Indian? Anyway, all of this means you are not the person. These are your characteristics, and all characteristics are part of the personality. So even though you are correct in postulating yourself being a person with a personality, but you are mixing up the person and the personality. So what is personality? You are taking it as a person. So then I say, well, okay, you tell me. You tell me what my person is. So, also another thing, this is what we study in the Mandukya Upanishad. So in the Mandukya Upanishad, we study that there are 3 states of my being. And so we can carry on this discussion about the person and the personality a little bit longer for just a minute or so. So in Mandukya it says, you are a person whose general name is Vishwa. Vishwa means a waking person. So you can forget about Vijay Kapoor. You can just say, I am, just like you say John Doe. So you are Vishwa. Now you are only Vishwa in your waking state. You are not Vishwa in your dream state. In a dream state, you have a completely different personality and you don't have any names actually there. Isn't it? And the dream state is just as powerful as the waking state. You are just as affected by it. It appears exactly the same way. So there your visual status is not there. You become Taijasa. And not only that, when you are in deep sleep, even the Vishwa and the Taijasa are gone, and you become Pragya. Pragya means you are completely ignorant of everything. Your sense organs are not also working. Your hearing is not working. Your sense of touch is not working. Because oftentimes you want to wake up. Sometimes my wife says, please wake me up very early because I have a meeting to go to and I want to have some tea before I go and all that. So wake me up at 5:30 or 6 o'clock. And so then I have to decide. I'm sometimes up even much. Usually I wake up before her. And so I go back upstairs to where she's sleeping and I'll say, Pammi. Pammi is not there. She's sleeping. Pammi doesn't answer. Then I touch her. Pammi doesn't touch. I have to really shake her up. And so your senses are not working. Your name is not working. Nothing is working. You are a different person altogether. So there, to summarize, we cannot say that you are the person. You are three different persons. In fact, you are the same person with three different personalities. So that's another idea of saying this. What you consider to be a person is really a personality. So then I say, okay, if I am not the person, you say that what I consider to be a person is a personality, then who am I as a person? Because your thinking is straight, that in order for personality, there must be a person. Who is that person? So that person, Shastra says, listen, if you wake up in the morning, okay, supposing you wake up in the morning, and now you are brushing your teeth. You go to the bathroom first or whatever, and then you are now saying, okay, now I better wash my face and then brush my teeth. And you are looking at yourself in the mirror, and you feel, oh my God, I am really getting old. Look at my wrinkles, and my hair are falling. Oh my gosh, wow, I am looking old. So look at this conclusion and your thoughts. I am getting old. This is the conclusion, isn't it? And it's not a false conclusion. It is false, but not unreasonably false. It is a reasonably false conclusion. Ultimately, it's a false conclusion, but in the meantime, it is reasonable. Because, yes, this form that you're looking at is really getting old, no doubt about it. But what happens is, the form that you are looking at is superimposed on yourself. And you say, I am getting old. And so, look at this. This is not a true statement. Why is it not a true statement? Because on all your life, in fact in all states of your life, whether it was waking or dreaming or sleeping, there is a constant sense of awareness and witnessing. Constant, unchanging. That witness is I'm a child. I'm going to go to school. Now I'm a teenager. I'm aware of the fact that I'm a teenager. Now I am a college going person. Now I'm working. I am a witness. I am a constant witness. The same constant witness says, I am old. I am old. How do you know you're old? Because I know it. All your life you know it. Is the knowingness changing? Was it an old knowingness which was looking at was it a young knowingness that was looking at the young body? Or just knowingness? No, it was just knowingness. Okay, good. So, same knowingness, the same knower is looking at lot of changes, is aware of lots of happenings to yourself and to world around you. This is called the witness, the Sakshi. This is the person. It is not the old individual, the current individual, or the young current one, whoever one is. It is not that as the person. That is also part of the personality. But the real person is the Sakshi, which doesn't change. Don't you see it? I know. At every point I know. I am aware. I am aware. And when you say I am aware, it also supposes you are. You cannot be aware unless you are. And so what you are and what you are aware is the one and the same thing. And it's unchanging. Excuse me. It's the same one. You don't have to be told about that. You know it yourself. It's the same person that was young, same person that is middle-aged, same person that is old. Doesn't matter what you are, but it's the same person. Why do you not think of that rather than be completely preoccupied by what you look like? It's good that what you look like has to be presentable. Yes, you have to comb your hair. If you have disheveled hair, even a person like that doesn't have much hair, I also do have to comb a little bit. But I have a great advantage. The other day one time when the COVID was not there, and I used to go to the gym regularly, and I'd go to the men's room and I would take a shower and steam bath. This used to be my everyday thing. I would exercise and then take a steam bath. Now, of course, I don't go out. But one day I went to the men's room and I forgot my comb. And I said, oh my God, I forgot my comb. So you know what I did? All I did was just with my hands, I did like this. And I was waiting for my wife to say, hey, what's happened with your hair? She did not blink at all. That's when I thought, I don't need a comb anymore. That's it. That's my advantage. So I'm preoccupied by what I look like, and you need to be presentable. So this is what is called Vyavaharika Sat. Vyavaharika Sat means that transactional truth, there is a certain transactional truth. So even though it's a personality, but that personality has some form. It's a changing form. But it does have some definite form that people transact with. Like for example, supposing you are sitting I'm in a big room. Supposing I've applied for a visa. Supposing I go to the German embassy in San Francisco and I've applied for a visa and I'm waiting with lots of people. Finally, the German officer who's my turn comes and he says, Vijay Kapoor? So I get up and say, that's me. So in the old days he would shake my hands. So unless I have my body, he's not going to shake hands with me. If it's only a voice, Vijay Kapoor, and it says it's coming from that direction, and then you're not sure where is it, and then you're transacting. You cannot even talk without a body. You cannot listen without a body. So the body is necessary. So that's a transactional truth. It's called Vyavaharika Sat. But the Vyavaharika Sat is not Paramarthika Sat. It is not the real Sakshi. Because the Sakshi is the same for everyone. Whether I am me or you or anyone, everyone is Sakshi. Imagine that. This is what the truth, that is the real person. And if you're looking yourself first thing in the mirror, and you immediately start thinking about, oh my gosh, I'm looking older, I better do this, I do that. Or if I'm looking disheveled, and in the case of men you say, my gosh, my hair are growing, I better shave or trim or something like this. Then you are doing Vyavaharika Sat. And then you're completely tied up with that. That's it. Have you inquired into the fact that you are the same Sakshi? Isn't that important? Isn't that something interesting even? Forget about important. Isn't it fascinating that it's the same Sakshi? Why is it that you don't inquire? Oh, because why? That I take for granted, of course. Hey, this is the truth of life. There is something which doesn't change. And you are oblivious about it. And you're getting it all mixed up. This is the essence of these verses, really speaking. They all try to give you, some pointers, and you have to look at, as I said, this is like looking at the mirror. When you're studying these verses, you're looking at the mirror. You're too busy trying to see exactly what the mirror is. We're not looking at yourself in the mirror. This is what it means. You have to really see who is the real person. And that person you will be long after the personality is gone. Look at that part of it. The personality is given to you by Ishvara, by God. The personality is given to you. Your body is given to you. Your mind is given to you. Your tendencies are given to you. Your health is given to you. Your future is given to you. Your expected age is given to you. And then taken away. And restarted all over again. So if you are hung up on the personality as being the person, please consider it is only temporary. You are not going to be forever. Vijay Kapoor. You're not going to be. That's just a name and a certain body and mind which is given to you as an adopted personality. But you will remain the same, which is the Sakshi. In your next incarnation, same thing will happen. This is what we are in this life, but so many unlimited number of cases have happened where you are a different person altogether. And same thing will happen again until you really inquire into the unchanging you. Anyway, so that's what verse number 16 was pointing out. So in 16, so verse number 16 was saying that the person is a vyavaharika person. Why is it a vyavaharika person? Because it is really a reflection. Chititchaya samaveshat jivaha syat vyavaharika. So it is a reflection of the truth. It is not the person. Anyway, so that particular reflection is not included in what I was saying. So let's continue with what I was saying and leave aside the fact of reflection in another manner for a while. So let's go on to verse number 17. Asya jivatvam aropat sakshini avabhasate avritau tu vinishtayam bhede bhati apayati tat. Okay, so it explains this phenomena of taking what you see in the mirror to be yourself. Right? When you wake up in the morning and you happen to look in the mirror, you say, "Oh my God, I am getting old." And that's just my state of being. You can say, "Oh my God, I look so beautiful and young." You can say that, but it doesn't matter. All different kinds of variations on the theme. Okay, so now it says, here is what is happening. If you analyze this phenomena where you are taking the state of the body and the mind to be yourself, how that is happening is as follows. So this is what is given in number 17. Asya jivatvam aropat sakshini avabhasate. So sakshini means in the sakshi, in the eye, in the witness. You see, you are the witness. This is exactly what the verse is. This is what the text is saying. Drg Drsya. Drik is different from the Drishya. What is the seer is different from the seen. That's why I think this text is to be highly recommended, because, as I mentioned in the very beginning, this is a very good foundational text. Why? Because it starts very simply in the very first verse, as you know, which is, let us see the distinction between a Sakshi, the Drik, and the Drishya, a seen and seer. Let us see the distinction. It makes that very clear. Having made that distinction, it now says, let's now apply apply it to you, what does it really mean? And then it goes into a great set of explanation as to the fact that you are imposing the Drik and the Drishya together. This is the issue. This is the problem. Now, if you don't have to physically separate them, but if you understand how this mix-up is happening, you will understand the truth about yourself. This is what is presented in this beautiful book, Drg Drsya Viveka. Very good introduction, very good foundation to the understanding. So here he says, Asya Jivatvam. Asya means of this person. This person means you and I as a person, as who I consider to be a person. Not the real person, but the person as the old person and the young person, that person. So the status of that personality, Jivatvam here means personality. Right? Jiva means a living person. So living person means has a personality. How old is he? How old is she? How young is she? How young is he? Etc. What does he look like? Etc. All these is called Jivatvam. So Asya Jivatvam Sakshini Aropat Avabhasate. He says that these characteristics are superimposed upon the Sakshi. So as I mentioned before, this is a very interesting situation where not only am I experientially and spiritually in error, I am grammatically also in error. Grammatically, simple grammar. How? Because I should say I and this. I is in first person and this is in third person. I'm not saying you, but I'm saying this. First person and third person. Very simple, very clear, right? You can even ask your child, okay, we're talking about three cases. First person, second person, third person. And so the child says, what do you mean by second, third? Okay, I, are you clear? Yes. You, who I'm looking at, is it clear? That's the second person. Okay, yeah. Then we say this wall, this TV. That's the third person. Okay, good. Good. Child also understands that I am I and this is this. I make a grammatical mistake where I say I am this. Where do you say I am this? Don't you say I am this hand. You know, you don't say if you supposing you squeeze me or you touch me. I don't say you touched my hand. I say you touched me. So this hand becomes me. So grammatically also we make a mistake. So that's exactly what it is saying. Asya jivatvam aropat sakshini avabhasate. Aropa means an accusation. When you accuse someone, it's called aropa. Aropa. In Hindi, which is my mother tongue, I remember that when we were growing up, we will tell people, आप तो मुझे ऐसे ही आरोप लगाए जा रहे हैं. Means arop. In Hindi also it is called aropa because Hindi is derived from Sanskritam. And we used to say that आप फालतू मुझे क्यों आरोप बता रहे हैं? Means, why are you unnecessarily accusing me? So, the jivatvam is being accused. Here the sense is superimposed. Superimposed upon the sakshini. And then the second line is, then we will concentrate back on the first line again. Avritautu vinishtayam bhede bhate apayati tat. So let's look at the entire English translation of this verse. Due to superimposition, the individual's status as a jiva appears even in the witness. The true I, the person, the Atma, the witness. The superimposed status of jiva, this is the second line, it disappears, however, when the distinction of Drg and Drsya is cognized upon the destruction of the veiling. So the first part of the sentence is, due to superimposition, the individual status as a jiva appears into the witness, and when it disappears, however, when the distinction is cognized upon the destruction of the veiling. So this is what the verse is saying. So now let's look at it. So there is mutual superimposition between two completely different things. One is the seer and the other one is the seen. There is mutual completely separate things. Let's look at both of them. So the nature of the sakshi, has three aspects, not three parts. Please remember that. They are not separate parts, but they are same thing which can be viewed from three aspects. This is the true of the sakshi. What are those? One is that it is, as we went over this earlier. The second one is that it knows. It shines. I am. You just look at this. I am. This is the truth for all of us. It doesn't matter who you are, whether you believe in this. It's not a question of belief. It's looking at the truth. You may have a different personality. That's a separate thing. But the common thing is you are aware, and you are the source of love, of feeling good. You are the nature of happiness. You are the nature. It's your nature to be Ananda. How can we say that? Although the Ananda is a little bit more difficult to express itself. See, the first two, which is Sat and Chit, that I am and that I am aware, is relatively easy to grasp. It is very obvious that when I am the same witness which I was there at a year young, same witness that I am now, the witness doesn't change. It's not like it's a young witness and an old witness. Witness doesn't change. So that is obvious, the Sat and Chit. Ananda, however, requires a little bit more analysis and study. How? Because we say that Ananda is your very nature also. And not only from a Paramarthika standpoint, even from a Vyavaharika transactional standpoint also, you are the nature of Ananda. How can we say that? Because we expect people to be happy. We don't go around saying, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry you are happy. What is wrong with you? What happened to you?" We don't say that. We say just the opposite. If you're pulling a long face and if you're not talking to anyone and you're just sort of sulking, then we have to carefully approach you and say, "Is everything okay? How are you doing?" Walk a deep sigh inside, we say, "Why is that person sulking? People should not be sulking." It means my natural disposition. Natural. Without doing anything else. And in fact, it's interesting, our teachers all say this, that the mother and the father of a very young child has to teach them a lot of things. Don't pick up dirty things from the ground. Don't do that. It's not good. And then later on, when they become a little bit older, they immediately say, "Do namaste, namaste." Or some say hello to people. Say thank you. You get a candy from somebody and say, "Did you ever say thank you?" And the child says, "What is that?" So you have to teach them a lot of things. But none of them ever say, "Be happy." Not necessary. All means that the natural state of the Sakshi. So we are discussing what the Sakshi is. Sat, Chit, Ananda. Sat, Chit, three different aspects of the same thing. This is the Sakshi. Okay? So this Sakshi is superimposed upon the personality. So we were talking about the superimposition between the person and the personality. And remember, the mind and the body is the personality, not the person. Sakshi is the person. So the qualities of the Sakshi are superimposed upon the personality, so that the body and the mind also become conscious. The consciousness belongs to the Sakshi, right? But it is superimposed on the body, and the body also becomes conscious. Mind also becomes conscious. Okay? And to a degree, Ananda becomes superimposed on the body and the mind. Exactly. So now the Sakshi is absolutely Ananda, but the mind is relatively Ananda. See, the mind borrows. It's kind of like, if you're standing in the mirror, then you are the real person, but your reflection depends upon how dirty the mirror is, how scratched up the mirror is, how moving the water is. So that is a reflection which depends upon the reflecting surface, whereas you don't depend on the reflecting surface. You see? So therefore, the superimposition of Ananda on the mind now becomes relative. What do you mean by relative? Because the Sakshi is not affected by anything. It will always remain the Sakshi, the Chit Swarupam, the Ananda Swarupam, the Atma. Same thing. Satchid Ananda always remains independent. But the mind can become unhappy. Why? Because there are other factors that also get involved. And then it becomes appropriate to ask, why are you so unhappy? What happened? So then the person will say, oh my gosh, I can't tell you. Oh my goodness. These days everybody in California has lots of reasons to be unhappy. It is just, yesterday I was telling someone, I said, what an amazing show by Ishvara. I've never seen anything like this. We all start with the COVID, and then on top of that we had, you know this fact, those who are in this area will know, this is like about 3 weeks or so ago, we had 10,800 lightning strikes between an hour to 2 hours. I have never seen anything like this in my life. Continuous strong lightning, which resulted in 1,000 or so fires, and which resulted in, and on top of that there is a lot of heat and power outages and smoke. Even to last night we had to close off all the windows. I'm very happy that I got a air cleaner, air purifier, and it was working full time. It's actually sitting right there in this room. My wife said, since you are teaching 2 classes, you might as well keep in this room. I don't know if you can hear the hum, but this is a pure air purifier, because outside we can't even see the neighbors' homes. Anyway, I'm going into more details, but it means that the mind can have other factors to make it unhappy. So that is modulated. So the Sakshi is superimposed upon the Drishya, which is the body-mind. And the body-mind is superimposed upon the Sakshi. That's exactly what the situation is. How is the body-mind superimposed upon the Sakshi? Because the limitation of the body-mind are put on the Sakshi. This is exactly why you say, oh my God, I am getting old. You are not getting old, you are the very Sakshi, which is I am, I'm aware. Where is the question of getting old? Sakshi doesn't get old. Don't you see that is the same Sakshi that was looking at the young body, the same Sakshi, and right up to the death he'll be the same Sakshi, and then during death set, if there is nothing to see during the death, as soon as you're born, you will be saying the same Sakshi, I am born, I am young, I am growing up. Same Sakshi for everyone. One Atma, Paramatma, Brahman, Parameshwara, Ishvara, God, same thing. Sakshi, Sakshi, Sakshi. So, but I don't see it that way, because now I say, I am very limited these days. I've lost a job. The job is superimposed upon the Sakshi. I am diabetic. Body is imposed upon the Sakshi. I am unhappy. Mind is super, all kinds of things. So there is a mutual superimposition, and that's what creates the problem. And he says that once the mutual superimposition process is understood, then this mix-up mentally will be, and you will see now that they cannot be mixed up. It's incapable of mixing things up. Very much like you cannot mix up the walls and space. Walls cannot enclose space, my dear. They do not. You cannot mix them up. It appears like that. So if there is a 5-bedroom home, there appears to be 5 bedrooms. There is a bedroom number 1 space, bedroom number 2 space. There is an appearance. This is called Vyavaharika Sat, transactional truth. Yeah, because you need this bedroom for this person. You have 2 children, so you need 1 office. All of that is transactional. But the space cannot be enclosed, my dear, because the walls will disappear and the space remains the same. You can't say, now I have freed up the space. Yes, you have freed up 1 bedroom, but not the space. And so once this distinction is removed, you are okay. So this is what the second line says. Asya jivatvam, once again, to clarify this verse. Asya jivatvam aropat sakshini avabhasate. Avabhasate means it appears. This is how the appearance is. The two are mixed up. Avritautu vinishtayam. So once this veiling, so there is a certain, so the fact of the matter is there is a certain incapability of understanding that they are completely separate. Same example that we saw on fire and the iron ball. So if there is a child that is presented with a hot iron ball, is incapable of understanding that the fire doesn't belong to the iron ball. It's a completely separate thing. But if the child were to understand it, then this problem will go away. He says, Avritautu vinishtayam bhede bhati apayati tat. Means then they shine separately. They shine separately. And so this shining separately also has 2 different aspects. So one is that there is some truth behind all the changes. So this is a very important thing to see as a basic tenet of Advaita Vedanta. You should be very familiar with this tenet. And you already are, I'm just reminding you of it. What is that basic tenet? So give me a couple of more minutes and I will wrap up this aspect of it and then go to verse number 18 next time. So I'll be done with number 17. So the basic tenet of Vedanta is that all changes are based on a changeless substratum. You cannot have a change, you cannot have any kind of a movement or a change without having a basis. And the basis may also change, but eventually the change of the basis also depends on something else which doesn't change. So the ultimate basis of all changes is unchangingness. This is a basic tenet of Vedanta that you must be very clear about. Study it if you need to, listen to it again and again, whatever needs to be done. But this is an important thing. So this is what is called vivarta change. That ultimately, so this is exactly what it is, that the whole world is like a clay that may be shaped like different clay objects, but by itself does not change. Even when the objects are there is a cup, there is a saucer, it still remains the clay. So this removal of the superimposition comes in two stages. Okay, so I'll perhaps revise it a little bit more, but let me complete it here. It comes in two stages. First stage is that knowing this tenet of Vedanta, so that has to be very clear. You cannot have changes without a basis. And I see changes in the world. In fact, the world, all I see is nothing but change. Unchanging part is very little. Everything is changing. Even what I consider to be unchanging also is unreliable and changing. Completely changing. Even life itself, I don't know how long will it be, as I see it. So all I have to say is that all these changes that are occurring must have a basis, and must have a basis which is unchanging. So this unchanging basis is called Brahman, it is called Ishvara, it is called God, which is the basis of all the changes. So this is the first of the two necessary steps for me to gain freedom from this sense of superimposition. Okay? So the first step is what is called in Vedanta Brahma Asti. There is Brahman, there is God, upon which everything is changing, which itself is unchanging. This is called Paroksha Jnanam, and it requires a heavy dose of understanding and a heavy dose of faith, Shraddha. So heavy dose of both of them are required. Okay? So this is called Brahma Asti. Sorry about that. I forgot to take the, let me just... Call from submission. Okay. So this is called Paroksha Jnanam or Brahma Asti. This is the first step. You know what the second step is, which is a much bigger step? This is the county supervisor. Sorry about that. Let me shut this off. These are all calls that are broadcast. This one was from the county supervisor, Joe Samitian, talking about a COVID meeting tomorrow by phone, and it's all sent to the local people, and I usually take the phone out, but I forgot to do that, so apologize for that interruption. Anyway, so the first step is Paroksha Jnanam, Brahma Asti. The second step is the most significant one, and that is called Brahma. Asti means it is. I can recognize the presence of it. The second step is Brahma Asmi. Not only is there Brahma, but there is none other than me. That is the one that requires a lot of courage, lot of understanding, lot of clarity. The second step is the major one, and you cannot get a complete sense of freedom until both the steps are complete. So this is what is called aparoksha jnanam. One is paroksha jnanam and the other one is the aparoksha jnanam. But together, both of the jnanams, aparoksha and jnanam and aparoksha, they remove this mix-up of the identities, and that is what is given in the second line of the verse number 17. He says, Avritau, when the to vinishtayam, when this veiling is removed, bhede bhate apayati tat. That means the clear distinction of the non-mixable aspect. Clear distinction. I mean, the fire and the iron are completely different. There's nothing common between them. One is naturally hot, the other one is just cold. This becomes very clear. So this is the process of the education, process of the self-mind's education with the help of the scriptures that has to take place. And so that is the essence of the verse number 17. So with that I close the class, and we will go to verse number 18 next week. Om Asato ma satkamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityor ma amritam gamaya. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Harihi Om. So wonderful to see you all, also both from the US, various people, and Kirsten from Italy, Anita from Germany. So wonderful to be in touch with you all at the same time. And Shri, I'm sorry about not sending it back to you, but I will do that in the next day or so. Henry, nice to have you back, not back, but to have you in the class. And of course our devoted students, so many of them. It's wonderful to see you all. I'm particularly very happy about the Western people joining this class, because that used to be one of my complaints, that we usually only have Indians in the class, but so nice, all because of Raman and Patel, really, so wonderful. Barbara, Ashwin Naik, I got your email, or was it, so that was wonderful, thank you for that. Shanti Kumar, I don't understand how you're able to spend so much time listening to this. So nice to have you in both the classes. I don't see any questions per se, so with that I take your leave and we will see you next week. Hari Om.